Okay, and we are live. Hey everyone, I'm going to try something new. As you can see, I'm using StreamYard. I'm just using the free version right now because I have no idea where I'm going with this channel. However, we are going to react to Charles Cornell, who is going to tell us something about Pokémon Diamond's background music and how jazzy it is. And I want to explain to you what exactly he's talking about for if you don't understand it quite as well as you'd want to. So let's check it out.
There is jazz in Pokemon, and it's honestly pretty incredible. And in 2006, this was somewhat of a revelation in video game technology, thanks to the Nintendo DS, because the soundtrack for the Pokemon Gen 4 games had no business being this good.
Pokemon music is really good.
I mean, first of all, wait a second. All we have to do is look at that very first chord change to be like, oh, okay. Right there. What is that? Very simple. It's just a G major 7 chord. Something like that. That's just like a little flourish in the beginning, and immediately... Okay. We jump up a minor third from G major 7 to B flat major 7 for not really any reason other than it sounds incredible.
Okay, so what's special about that is in the key of G major, B flat would be the minor third, right? So G, A, B. That's the logical sequence of notes. From G, after G goes A, then goes B. And so what you get, you go to a chord that's essentially taken from the G minor tonality instead of G major. So it's a big surprise. You're in G major, you're just laying down this little embellishing line, this intro line is, and then the music starts in a completely different place, taken from G minor. So that's what's going on there.
So we have this intro, and then we go, how's it go? Yeah. Okay, and then this just goes so many cool places just immediately without even waiting to get into it at all. It's just like, here, have some amazing harmony. Okay, there were some cool things going on in there, and you might have not even noticed it because it sounded, well, kind of conventional. But when we look a little deeper, there's actually some really cool things going on here. Let's listen to that again. There's our B flat major 7 chord, but then we have this. What's going on there, right? Something like that, right? This chord, what is that, right? Because I think there's a few different options as to what it could be. Because what's coming next is we simply resolve to an F major 7 chord. So what this is sort of telling me is that we might expect this to be like a B flat major 7, and we could expect the 5 going into that F major 7. That would be very conventional and make a lot of sense. However, that would be too easy because what we have going on here instead is we leave our root as B flat, and that could potentially do some really interesting things to this chord. We started regular old B flat major 7, and then all we did is we took the F of this chord and dropped it to there, right? And so as soon as we drop it to there, that would work really well as a voicing of C7. But instead of doing that, we leave it there, which makes you go, well, what is that? Is that still B flat major 7, except now we're doing like a flat 5, right? So we're taking our 5th of that chord and we're dropping it by a half step. Maybe that's just a B flat major 7 with a flat 5.
Okay, so that's something I need to get into. I wouldn't call it a flat 5, first of all. I would call it a sharp, or an augmented fourth, a sharp 4. Now, you might think that's enharmonic. It's the same thing, and maybe you don't because you don't know what that means, but let's get into it. So, the key of C major has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Nothing, no flats, no sharps, nothing special, just the letters. Now, that's what we get when we take this note field and we take C as the root. Okay, what happens if we take the same note field, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C? But the different note is it just feels like the root. Let's take a look what happens if we take F. We get F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. That's different from an F major scale. An F major scale has a B flat. I made a video on this stuff on major scales and on accidentals. You can check it out. I'll put it in somewhere. I'll put it somewhere. So the key of F has a B flat. That's F, G, A, B. I can't look at my fingers and count properly, but B is the fourth note. So B flat would be the fourth note, and now it's B instead of B flat, because we're taking these notes from C major, but we're treating F as the root. We're making it sound like the root. So what do we get? We get a scale that's major, but has an augmented fourth, and this is called Lydian. It's a scale. Okay, it's a scale that exists. It's a major scale with an augmented fourth. Now, what does that mean? In the key of C major, we also have an F major chord. And the F major chord would be F major seventh, as you can see as you can learn in the video I made about seventh chords. I'll put that somewhere on the screen as well. So this chord, F major seven in the key of C, or the 4 chord actually, would have an augmented fourth. So the second, they're going from B major seventh to B major seventh with an augmented fourth, or sharp 4, they're sort of revealing that B major seven wasn't the 1 to begin with. It was the 4, and now we're resolving back to 1, which means we get a second surprise. First, we're starting out on G major 7th, and then we're surprising the listener with B flat major 7th. And well, how do we get there? Well, we just went there, just surprised our listener. But taking, you call this a chromatic mediant. Mediants are chords that are a third away from the previous chord. So G major 7th, typically the mediant, the diatonic mediant, the mediant within the major scale would be B minor or E minor, just a third up or a third down within the same key or scale. You can, again, you learn about 7th chords, the video, it will explain this stuff. However, now we're not taking B minor, we're taking B flat major, which is a chord borrowed from G minor, or you could consider it as borrowed from G minor. It's not quite the same. G major has G, B, D, F sharp, G major 7. B minor would have B, D, F sharp, and then A is minor 7th. But it shares 3 notes, B, D, and F sharp. They're all shared, all the same. So, what do we get? A chord that shares a lot of notes. That's different with a chromatic mediant. A chromatic mediant is sort of a mediant, but certain notes are shifted a half tone, a semitone. So the B is shifted down to B flat, for example, giving us B, D, or B flat, D, not F sharp, but F. So another semitone shift, and then A, giving us B flat major 7th. Okay, so that's one surprise, this chromatic mediant. The second surprise, the chromatic mediant we went to, turns out to not be the 1, but to be the 4 of an even different key. So first we thought, oh gee, that's the 1. Nope, it's not the 1, B flat is the 1, except nope, we're changing the F to E, or lowering it we're adding this augmented fourth, and I know B flat is not the 1 either, it's F. F is the 1. So we're constantly being surprised by what's actually the tonic of this of this song, this tune. So let's see what James has to say about this afterwards.
That's a beautiful sound, isn't it? And in some ways, I think it's much more intriguing than just letting it become a 5 chord. Now, I want to remind you, we are 10 seconds into this piece, and this is, of course, Lake from the Pokémon Diamond soundtrack. And we have the exact same thing there. Wait a second. We just did the same thing. In B flat major, we had this. And then we had... But we have that same exact chord that we had in B flat. Now we have it in F, right? That's just such a gorgeous chord. Taking a major 7th chord and taking the 5 and dropping it a half step, making it a flat 5. Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't like conceptualizing these chords as having a flat five, because that sort of takes that leads us away from the Lydian sound, but really it's a Lydian sound, which is an augmented fourth. Lydian still has a regular fifth, we're just not playing it right now. We're playing a different note, the augmented fourth. But that's a bit of it, it's kind of subjective which way you want to see it.
Notice our melody. I didn't even notice that. Our melody is the sharp 11. So just
Sharp 11,
in the
there you
root of the
go.
chord and the melody alone, we have a tritone going on here. But would you ever think of it as being dissonant like a tritone is? No, because in context, it sounds beautiful. That's the beauty of adding notes, spreading out some of these maybe more dissonant intervals and hiding them inside of all these other gorgeous intervals. It can make something that should be a really kind of dissonant sound and just make it beautiful.
Yeah, so it's like adding salt to a brownie.
It's in there. That's in there, right? There it is. There it is. But when we put it like that, it's just beautiful. So I didn't even notice the fact that the melody is that E natural over a B flat major 7 chord because it fits so well and it sounds so consonant despite it being a tritone, which is one of the most dissonant intervals that we can play.
I love his
Oh my
reactions.
god. Okay, hold on. Wait.
Oh my god. He's great. I love it.
Where did we hear that before? G major 7 with that ninth. That was what we introed with. We played that little flourish
So we go full circle.
before we immediately
And
started
surprise, because okay, wait.
our B flat.
We were in a place where you did not expect to go back to G at all, not even the slightest. We were at B flat and then an F, and B flat major 7 and F major 7 sound like they belong together, right? Because they fit into the same key. We go to G major 7, there's just no way you can justify that. So it's always going to sound like a weird modulation, and you could say this is, well, not atonal, but modal. It's a modal way of dealing with harmony. So my playlist basically deals with functional harmony, which is one way of thinking about harmony. Another way is modal music, where you go from one chord and just play a church mode scale over it, basically, often, and then you go to a completely different chord that's not too related. I mean, it can be related sometimes, but that would be accidental. It's just we go to a different chord, whichever feels right at that moment. And then at that chord, we just play a different church mode and another one. So we could go from B flat major Lydian to F major Lydian. And these happen to coincide, or they fit together pretty well, but that's almost an accident. Because we can also just go to G major. And then I don't know what they're playing there. I think it's just basic major, but I think in this context, you could put that augmented 11th in there, or augmented 4th, 11, 4 is the same thing. Same note, and it would sound great. So that's more of a modal approach to music instead of a functional approach.
Flat major 7 melody. Now here we are bringing that G major 7 back in, and we start a whole new section with it. Yeah. Oh.
This is great.
Okay, wait. Hold on.
Taking Pokemon
This
games.
section is packed full of incredible harmony. And it's amazing how, like, I mean, when you really break it down, it's not necessarily all that complex. It's just the way it's implemented and the context in which it's implemented makes it incredibly beautiful. The composition here is incredible. And the fact that, as we know with video game music, the idea behind a lot of it is that it's intended to loop very smoothly and seamlessly. And it's also meant to be something that you can listen to for extended periods of time without it becoming tiresome or annoying.
Oh.
And we see that exact
That works.
thing happening here because we started out, we had our section in B flat, and then we have this whole other section to give us something new to check out, and this goes through a bunch of beautiful chord sequences. in order to get back to where we started, because we need to start this whole thing over again. So we need to get here somehow. Now, could we just go D major 7 and then just go right to it? I mean, yeah, you could, sure, that'd be fine, but like, why not go ahead and throw something really cool in there? I don't even know. I mean, this motion, you're going from a D chord to a G chord to a B flat chord. Connecting them that way, it's not necessarily that it's like a device that you would typically expect to see used in that context, but it just works so well because we have this beautiful major 7th chord. Then we have a sus13 chord, which is also an absolutely gorgeous chord, and that brings us right to B flat major 7. It doesn't even bring us there, it just kind of creates a jumping point for our ear to get from place to place to place. But I mean, for a Pokemon soundtrack for Nintendo DS in 2006, unreal. And you know, this was...
Oh, okay. So, one more thing. Let's see. So, no, let's do it like this. So, you talked about a 13 sus chord. Now, at this moment of recording, I haven't yet released a video where we talk about these kinds of chords, but to be clear, we would think of an F major 7, except we play a G in the bass. And what that does, because G doesn't fit into F major 7, it's not the root or the 3rd or the 5th or the 7th. So because of that, G will sound like the 1. And F major 7th consisting of F, A, C, E, face, the F will sound like a minor 7th. The A will sound like a 9th or a 2nd. C will sound like an 11th. And then we get the 13 later. So the sus part means we're replacing the 3rd for either the 2 or 4, for one of the notes that's right next to the 3rd. In this case, we got both. We got both the 9 and the 11. We got both the 2 and the 4. Those are the same thing. And we're also adding the 13. Now, this chord, I've learned it back when I was learning music. When I was but a wee little boy, I learned it as the Jackson 5 dominant, because it's such a typical dominant to use in that style of music, in this style of soul-flavored music. It's a very lush, warm chord, but it's also something that has a dominant function. So it has a function of wanting to resolve. Now, G sus 13, so that's F major 7 over G. G will want to resolve to C. That's just what it typically does. Or maybe you will want to go down. If it's a tritone, you could descend a semitone to end up there. Again, I made a video about tritones. I'll put it in the screen somewhere. But tritone dominance, I guess. Anyway, the G chord still acts like a dominant, and it still wants to resolve, even though we're not going to C. You know, the chord creates a tension that wants to resolve to C, but that doesn't mean we actually have to go to C. It just creates a tension, and then we go somewhere else, surprising our listener again and again, playing into this type of music that has to be heard time and time again for hours of playing on end without ever becoming boring. It requires us to surprise the listener constantly. And using all these F major 7ths, even the dominant is a major 7th chord with a weird bass note, right? So there's still this major 70 vibe. And using all those major 7th chords sounds very lush and warm and like it's fine. There's nothing weird going on here without you playing alto or dominance or something. It's okay. But because it's so weirdly placed in opposition to each other, so when we like come from G to B flat to F, and now it just went from D to G to B flat. D to G would be fine, and G to B flat would be fine in the key of G minor. But B flat and D, that's in the key of D minor, then that would work. But we're going from D major to G major to B flat major, which again is the relations between the chords are very strange, except each separate chord is very easy to process sonically. So that's what makes it work. Okay, let's continue and see what Charles has to say.
such a big deal because prior to the DS, the Game Boy Advance didn't have nearly the hardware capabilities to create sound in the same way. The Game Boy Advance had no dedicated sound chip, which meant that the CPU had to handle basically everything, and it only had 6 channels available for sound. Fast forward to the Nintendo DS, and all of a sudden we go from 6 channels to 16 channels. It could deal with all types of different audio codecs and things. It basically gave composers a lot more leeway to use higher quality sounds, higher quality samples, and more layers, which allowed building much richer instrumentation. I mean, it just had so much more capability than the Game Boy Advance that came before it. And so for the first time, we get a soundtrack like this that uses all of this type of instrumentation, and we can create some really, really cool things harmonically. I mean, video game composers did incredible work within the limitations of the hardware that came before it, but this was just like, oh, come on. We're getting closer to literally being able to just put an MP3 file into a game. They're gonna take advantage of that.
The multiple melodies.
Okay.
I love the spatial expressions.
We were in one home base, and then we shifted to a new home base. That's got to be the weirdest transition I've ever heard. Listen to that again. We just resolved. We're in this nice, comfortable home base of D major 7, and then we get this. Where are we gonna go? We just hit the 5 chord, A, B flat major. Where next? D flat major 7? It's just such an interesting transition, but it sounds super cool.
Really weird. That's so odd. Oh, okay. I want to get into that one for a second. So you said we were at the dominant, at the 5, and that was A, and then we went up a half a semitone to B flat, which is fine. It's very typical to go from B flat to C to D, from the flat 6, from the minor 6 to the minor 7 to 1. That's the seal kiss from a rose progression, but game music uses this all the time, and like Mario games, and there are so many games that use this chord progression. So going from the dominant to the minor 6th, and then put a major chord there, fine. What are we going to do next? Going to D flat? Well, it's a chromatic mediant up from B flat, so it's you would expect to go to D, instead we go to D flat. We would expect to go to D minor then, but now going to D flat major. Again, was surprising the listener, and again, it's a new tonic sound. Now, it has to sound like a tonic because it's so weird that it has nothing to do with where we were a second ago. So wherever we are now is probably just the place to be. That's kind of how we perceive this harmony. So this harmony, D flat, surprises us so much from where in relation to where we've been harmonically. It's so new that our minds just automatically assume, okay, this is now the one. We modulated, we went to a different key, and this is it. So that's, again, the music is surprising us.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, man. This is all dealing in, like, triplets, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That made no sense at all, but this whole soundtrack is just full of unexpectedly in-depth composition. When you have such brilliant composers like the ones that have worked on these games, what else do you expect, I guess? And hey, Black Friday is fast approaching, and we are doing the biggest sale that we've ever done for the courses on the Cornell Music Academy. It's gonna go live on Black Friday, but right now, if you use that link in the description down below, you can sign up to get more information about what exactly the Black Friday sale is going to contain. Hint, it's everything at an insane discount. But also, before the sale goes live, I'm gonna be giving you some sneak peeks and free lessons.
Okay, so I kind of want to let them run his whole ad. However, the QR code, well, now it can be scanned. It couldn't a second ago. But this is also a video from a while ago, so I'm not sure how useful it is. However, I'll put a link to his channel in the description, or maybe I can put it in the screen. I'm not sure yet, because I'm new to the whole YouTube thing. But Charles Cornell is amazing. If you don't know him, definitely check him out. He's really great with this stuff. I love the editing. I love the facial expressions. He's really good at transcribing this music and explaining it. I love it. Anyway, This is my first reaction video. Uh, I'm interested to hear what you think of it. I probably really need to get rid of the powered by StreamYard thing up there, which means I need to start paying for it. But at the moment, I'm not making any money off of this, so I want to be careful with spending money on the YouTube channel if it's not also making money. So I'm not sure what I want to do there. However, please let me know what you think of this type of content and what you want me to change about it, or maybe different things you want me to react to. I'm interested to hear what you think. Also, I'm thinking of setting up a Patreon because that would maybe be a way to get, if at some point I get like $20 or $50 a month, and that can pay for subscription services like StreamYard. So that would be one way I can keep doing this and improve the quality. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you be willing to sign up to Patreon and give like $1 a month? Would that be something you would do? Interested to hear what you guys think. So see you guys next time, and let me know. Ciao.